Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. How are you doing? I hope you are doing great.
Stitch this with the stupidest thing a man has ever mansplained to you. I'll go first. I was 20 years old when my ex explained to me what a pillow is used for. He told me that the pillow is used to support your neck and your head. I was also a feature speaker at a poetry night, and a man came up to me and explained to me what I meant by the title of my poetry collection. And he was wrong, and I told him that he was wrong, and he said, "No, I think this is what you were trying to get at." And I was like, "No, you're wrong." And he did not believe me, even though it was a title I created for a work of poems that I wrote.
1979. I'm going to put a down payment on my own house. I'm walking on cloud. I'm stuck. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm taking the keys. I don't know. I don't want to open the car. I go to the car. I see it's no gasoline in the car. I go to a gas station. I take the gal. Listen, $20. I numero siete. The guy behind me, see, she doesn't talk so good English. Hey, miss, do you know to put gasoline? I said to myself, what an idiot. What an asshole. I just moved the car. I don't know to put. But I played dummy and he put the gasoline for me. And all of a sudden he became like a macho and he's telling me, my name is Carter, you want to go out for dinner? Listen, Carter, piece of shit, you better buzz off. You are talking to the wrong tree. I'm buying now my own house, so better luck next time. You better go to the lake, idiot.
Love when men mansplain things to me because then I get to respond to it. And I've crafted so many perfect responses to mansplaining. I'd like to share them with you. Here's my first and favorite one: when they explain something to you that's just blatantly obvious. And if it's so obvious, let's remember that has nothing to do with us and everything to do with them. Sometimes I'll just ignore it because I'm thinking, oh, you must not have known that recently. That's kind of cute. But if I want to call them out on it, I'll just go, yeah, so when did you learn that? They just go, and if they get real defensive, well, I've always known that. Then I get to go, so then why would you think that I wouldn't? Okay, but also when they explain something to you that you just said, like they explain back to you something you just said, then I go, yeah, that's so great. I'm so glad that you understood what I was saying. That's perfect. Good job. They get so mad. Okay, or when they're just being a total dick and they're mansplaining and you get to go, that's almost right.
When I was in high school, a good friend caused her own death by carbon monoxide poisoning. When I was in college, my mother was killed in a car crash, and my dad died of a broken heart shortly after. I had a series of reproductive losses by miscarriage. I had a good friend cause her own death by gunshot. Another died from an aneurysm, a third to breast cancer, another to stroke, and of course there's been heart attacks. My brother-in-law died of COVID. And my husband died 3 years ago of lung cancer. My master's thesis is on grief and bereavement. I've written a book. My doctorate is in clinical psychology. And yet a man told me I didn't really understand grief, and he explained it to me. Who has he lost in his own life? His dog died when he was 12.
I had a male coworker argue with me one time about how I couldn't work the 24-hour on-call because the staff quarters only had showers and not tubs, and women need tubs. And how can I respond at a moment's notice when I'm dealing with my menstrual cycle? It was all very unprofessional. Keep in mind, this is a very religious person that was married to his wife when they were 16. They were only 19 at this time, but they lived a very traditional life. She was a stay-at-home wife, all that kind of jazz. Eventually, I just asked him, hey, why don't you just tell me and explain to me why I need a bathtub for my menstrual cycle? Long story short, this man's wife told him that women have their menstrual cycle for 3 weeks, and the only time you can have sex is for a couple days when you're ready to receive God's gift. I'm assuming when you're ovulating. For the other 3 weeks, women need to lay in the bathtub for 2 hours every night and be left the fuck alone so she can let the blood out. To not fuck with her game, I told him that God looks down on women working, so our periods are cut down to only 1 day, and we deal with it on our days off. Educate your fucking kids.
So I know it probably wasn't very clear from that, what she was wanting. So what it is if you've ever had something happen to you, or it's clear that you have knowledge on the issue, but a man comes and says, it tries to explain it to you in a really condescending fashion, as if you have no idea what you're talking about. That's what she wanted you to do. It didn't seem like it was explained well enough. So anyways, that's what she wanted.
So I used to work front desk at a hotel, and I was chatting with a guest one day, and at one point he asked what my name was. I said, my name's Cartier. And he was like, oh, that's interesting. How is that spelled? And so I spelled it for him, and he was like, no. And I was like, what do you mean no? And he's like, that's pronounced Cartier. And I was like, no, actually, it's French, so it's pronounced Quartier, but Cartier is fine in English. And then he proceeded to argue with me about it back and forth, trying to be like, no, ER does not make an A sound. And I was like, not in English, no, but in French it does. And then he was like, okay, but it's French. Can you even name one person who speaks French? And I was like, en fait, moi.
And this guy tried to explain to me that women's vaginas are just one giant labia. And I told him, well, actually, women have two pairs of labias, labia majora and the labia minora. He doubled down and told me that I was wrong and that it's incredibly dangerous that sexually active women like myself don't have a basic understanding of our own.
He mansplained my job to me. So it was a social function, it was a cigar and whiskey night, and I was at a table with a group of people I'd never met. And one of them was a tall man in a suit with business cards made out of metal. Anyway, when he was done talking about his job, they asked me what I did. So I said, I'm a voiceover artist. And the guy was like, oh, what do you mean? I said, well, I'm an announcer. Record my voice for TV and radio commercials, all that stuff. And he was like, oh yeah, can I hear a sample? I feel like at this point, it's important to note that he was a 6-foot-tall American man and I am a 5'6" Filipino woman. Anyway, so I did a short sample. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the grand launch of the Cigar and Whiskey Bar. Something like that. And he was like, hey, your English is pretty good, but this is actually how you do it. I've had 4 years in college radio. So I said, oh, well, that's a really good try. Good job. So of course he got pissed and he was like, well, what are your credentials? And I was like, oh, I've been in the voiceover industry for 20 years, but 4 years of college radio.
Pre-mask, pre-pandemic, when I was working at Spencer's, a guy came in and he was looking at our jewelry cases. And he noticed at the time we had these little, like, at-home do-it-yourself ear piercing kits, and he tried talking to me about how horrible those are for your ears, and, like, that's not the proper way to do piercings. I was like, well, yeah, I know, but I'm just paid to, like, sell the products. I have no say in what we carry here. Like, I don't have a say in that. And he tried talking to me about, like, the proper way to do piercings with, like, clamps and hollow needles and how it's more like a hole punch and all that stuff. And I was like, well, yeah, I know. And this grown man who had no visible body modifications, piercings, tattoos, anything, was looking at the metal hanging out of my fucking face. And he goes, I don't really think you understand what I'm trying to say. I have a buddy who does piercings, and I'm always down at his shop, and I'm seeing him do this all day long. You're right, I just, like, don't know about piercing.
Kirby, I shit you not, Kirby. This little guy hangs on my backpack. We go everywhere together. And one time I was at this restaurant, and this guy that works there came up to me, and he's like, oh, I like the little Kirby that's hanging on your backpack. And I was like, oh, thanks. And I thought that was going to be the end of the conversation. But no, this guy proceeds to go, you know, I bet you only like him because he's cute. Have you ever played a Kirby game? They're actually really fun. I cut him the fuck off. I was like, yes, actually. I've played almost every single Kirby game. He's one of my favorite video game characters. I think my favorite Kirby game is Kirby and the Crystal Shards on the N64. This guy looked so shocked that I even knew what that was, like the game and the video game system. He was like, and I was like, yeah, have a good day. And I walked off. Motherfucker, how are you gonna try to mansplain and gatekeep Kirby? Half of his fucking appeal is that he's cute and his games are pretty simple. Oh my god, I'm still not over that. It's Kirby!
Dyan. Kasi before, nung college days ko, di ba nag-Tinder pa ako ng mga time yun kasi single pa ako nun, ready to mingle. May nakamatch ako sa Tinder. Tapos kasi, kapag naipag-usap kasi ako sa Tinder, gusto ko kasi yung usapan namin may sense. Alam mo yon, yung may substance. So, yung topic namin is, why do people cheat? Ang sabi niya sa akin, the reason why women cheat is because women are naturally malandi because of Adam and Eve. And women cannot control their kulo. Kasi ang sabi niya naman, the reason why men cheat is because may pagkukulang daw yung babae. So, ibig niya sabihin is kasalanan ng babae kung bakit nag-cheat yung lalaki. So, ako medyo napipiko na ako noon. Pero sinabi ko sa kanya, bakit? Ba't mo nasabi? Ang sabi niya sa akin kasi, yung mga hindi daw nabibigay ng babae, ng girlfriend, hinahanap daw ng lalaki sa ibang babae. Tapos I explained to him, sabi ko sa kanya, kapag may pagkukulang yung partner mo, you have to talk about it. Hindi yung hanapin mo yung mga pagkukulang niya sa ibang tao, tapos babalik-balik ka kapag kailangan mo siya. Kasi yun, after nun, hindi ko na siya pinansin. Hindi na ako nakipag-argue sa kanya kasi alam kong mahirap makipag-argue sa taong sarado yung utak.
I'm an athletic trainer. I did my master's thesis on concussion in sport. I deal with it every day. Elbow, apple, carpet, saddle, bubble. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah. So I know them in and out. I was standing on the sideline of a football game. Guy gets hit. He kind of goes down, does a whiplash type of counter coup type of mechanism. And I just see a light go out in his eyes. He does not look like he's there. So I immediately go over to him. I'm going to pull him off to do a quick eval when a coach literally steps in front of me, says, no, I was standing right there. I saw him. He didn't get hit in the head. I said, I know, but he hit his head on the ground. You don't have to get directly hit in the head to have a concussion. He says, no, that's not true. I played football all my life. I know. This guy literally is body checking me, will not let me do a concussion eval on this kid. Keeps bringing up how he's played football all his life, so he knows. I said, are you a medical professional?
Finally my turn. So when I was 10 years old, I lost my mom due to breast cancer. It was really sad, very hard, the really hard time in my life. And then now growing up and stuff, it's still hard for me to deal with. In my last relationship, I was talking to my ex, it's a very toxic person, but I was talking to him about this and, you know, explained to him how hard it is to lose a parent at a young age, etc. I was 10 years old when I lost her, and he looked me dead in the eyes and said, that's actually not too bad, because it's like you only had the 10 years with her trying to reason it. And then continued to say that when he loses his parents, he's much older and it'll be much harder because of all the other memories that he has with his parents. Anyways, I broke up with him soon after, but that's because he cheated on me. But like literally, men will mansplain your sadness, like the things that you feel. You could break your arm and they'll tell you how it feels.
Some years ago, I was studying for my second set of boards to become a double board certified OBGYN and maternal fetal medicine specialist. I happened to meet a guy. We were kind of into each other, but I explained to him, hey, I'm studying for my boards. I don't have a whole lot of time to be dating. Okay, we can just hang out every now and then. That's what he did. And I had to turn him down several times if I was too busy studying. Until one night, he called me over to his house because he wanted to talk to me about something. He said, we're going to have to stop seeing each other because you're not giving me what I need. So I said, okay. As I was leaving, he wanted to add one more thing. He said to me, you're never going to find a man because you're just too successful. He said that I needed to tone down my success because men needed to feel like they were the most successful in order to be able to provide for their families.
So guys, thank you so much for watching to the end, and don't forget to leave your comment down below what you think. Don't forget to subscribe, turn on notification. Anytime I upload a video, you will be notified. So